Beautiful artwork, elements of horror and mystery, and long-term storytelling all play into why Gravity Falls, a Disney Channel show created by Alex Hirsch, didn't just win Emmy Awards to the delight of young fans, but it transcended what was the norm for Disney's TV animation. It's an emotional roller coaster full of surprises, laughs, scares, and fun. And 10 years later, Gravity Falls feels like it was part of a shift in animation. A movement to appeal to broader audiences while telling stories that were more complex, nuanced, and long-form.
Guys, I think I just got bit by a snake! I need you to get me to a hospital quick! What? What's so funny?
Sorry, it's just hard to focus on what you're saying with that squeaky puberty voice you got there.
My name's Josh Taylor, this is Modern Mouse, and today I want to talk about Gravity Falls, its legacy 10 years later and what it achieved, and why many, including myself, still consider it one of the greatest shows of our time. Let's get started. Gravity Falls is the story of Dipper and Mabel Pines, two twin siblings who are staying at their great uncle Stan's place in Gravity Falls, Oregon for the summer. Over the course of its 2-season run, the duo make friends, fall in love, and fight off monsters to save the world. If you've never seen the show, you might be surprised in how mature it is in taking on the problems of 12-year-olds while also balancing ideas around time travel, alternate realities, and a flying Illuminati symbol with a devilishly high-pitched voice.
Remember, reality is an illusion, the universe is a hologram. Bye, Gold, bye!
This certainly isn't the DuckTales or the Rugrats that I grew up on. In the late 2000s and early 2010s, there was a shift in animation that Gravity Falls was a part of, that also included shows like Adventure Time or Steven Universe. They were still silly shows aimed mostly at kids, but they also had strong, complex messages about friendship or love or family, or communication or understanding. Animation also became more serialized. Yeah, you could sit down and have a fun time watching one episode, but the 2 seasons of Gravity Falls tell a complete story. And those story elements are hinted at through hidden messages or ciphers that are placed throughout the series, either in the opening or closing credits of the show. Gravity Falls rewards its fans over time, similarly to more adult shows like The X-Files or Twin Peaks, Wayward Pines, or Stranger Things. In fact, if I had to sum up what this show was to somebody who didn't know anything about it, I would tell people that this is basically an animated Stranger Things. And the elements of horror and mystery and ciphers harken back to the golden age of Scooby-Doo, a show that still feels revolutionary and one that many people consider one of the best of all time. Gravity Falls takes the charming elements of Scooby-Doo and adds to it. There's a group of kids looking to solve mysteries, but they don't just come across a guy in a werewolf costume. Instead, they come across real monsters or strange family revelations in a town full of characters that don't just make a singular appearance and have full fleshed out lives instead.
I will now take questions. You there.
Old Man McGucket, local kook, are the wax figures alive? And follow-up question, can I survive the Waxman uprising?
Yes. Next question.
And in that way, Gravity Falls is like another all-time great animated show, The Simpsons. I personally came to Gravity Falls pretty late. I didn't watch it until I could sit down and binge it on Disney+, but the original show spanned over 4 years. And at times, the Disney Channel challenged its audience to find the show, or to keep the story straight, since they were constantly playing reruns or changing the time slot of the show, and at one point, it even switched channels over to Disney XD. But regardless of its placement on cable television, it started to build a cult following among animation fans because it was bold and different and unique. And while shows like Phineas and Ferb or Kim Possible were successful, they weren't shows that challenged their audience to think more complexly about their place in the world like Gravity Falls did. Risque for the time, and from notes shown by Alex Hirsch that came down from Disney corporate, pushing boundaries was just the norm for the show. It introduced a same-sex couple and made one of the show's fan-favorite characters, Seuss, Latino.
All right, Seuss, you could do this. Just use your mouth to say words that makes romance happen. Your face is good.
Dipper and Mabel continually are looking for love, admiration, and friendship, and all of these things stem from the type of storytelling that Alex Hirsch and his team brought to the series. Currently, thanks to streaming services, we've grown more accustomed to long-term storytelling, both in and out of animation. Being able to binge a show or watch it anytime you'd like or wherever you want allows us all to stay more connected to our shows, our characters, and plot lines that can last over episodes or even seasons. And in terms of animation, some of the most loved and respected shows that are either still on TV or just finishing up have followed Gravity Falls' footsteps in long-form storytelling. And it doesn't hurt that a lot of people either worked on Gravity Falls or are friends with Alex Hirsch. Back in the 1970s and early 1980s, there was this new group of animators that were coming out of Cal Arts. Storytellers like Don Bluth, John Lasseter, Tim Burton, or Brad Bird started to take over the Disney studio and the animation world as a whole, which had been run for decades by Walt Disney's 9 Old Men or by studios that had much older animators like at Hanna-Barbera. With this new crop came a difference in how things were done. There was a huge boom in both film and TV animation by the early 90s, and different styles of animation were being invented or reinvented. Their focus has once again shifted animation, especially on television, and because he went to Cal Arts or got into the industry so early, Alex Hirsch has made friends with so many people who work on shows like Adventure Time, The Regular Show, and Rick and Morty. On Gravity Falls, Hirsch put together a group of creators that would graduate from his show and go on to make things that feel like natural follow-ups to the stories of Dipper and Mabel Pines. Storyboard artist and sometimes director Matt Braley moved on to creating Amphibia, a show about a young Thai American girl named Anne who ends up in a world populated with frogs, dealing with bullying, emotional manipulation, and being perceived as a monster because she's different. Dana Terrace, who dated Hirsch, would go on to make The Owl House, which brought a same-sex love story to the forefront of its plot, and created a world that was filled with both comedy and horror. Even the reboot of DuckTales in 2017 had the handprints of many of Alex Hirsch's friends and coworkers. Dana Terrace, who was a director on that show, actually made it her mission to make Webby a more interesting and dynamic character. And I'd make the argument that the 2017 version of DuckTales is actually better than the original because of the complexity of its characters and the long-form storytelling that takes place. There are tons of other shows and movies too that we could be talking about, like Over the Garden Wall, Big City Greens, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, Mitchells and the Machines, and Netflix's Inside Job. All of these things have been worked on by Alex Hirsch himself or someone that he's connected to. Gravity Falls isn't the singular catalyst to having more long-form storytelling and animation, or to have this desire for more representation, or to create more complex characters, but it is a major element of that movement. I'd actually say that Gravity Falls is more approachable than most, and in that way, it's kind of like a gateway drug to this new idea surrounding animation. Upon revisiting the series, and now knowing how the story plays out, I found new elements to appreciate. Jokes early on in the first season feel like they have more emotional weight to them, now knowing how each character's story plays out. Side characters I thought would be in and out of one episode got more attention from me on my rewatch.
Lovely ladies of the jury.
Oh, he's talking about us! We're not that lovely. Oh.
My case is simple. This very unrighteous dude thinks that reality is better than fantasy.
If you haven't seen it in a while, take this as me saying that the show is worth revisiting, especially through a different lens, whether that's looking at it from a storytelling perspective or from a representation perspective or whatever you'd like, because it's great, and 10 years later, it feels more important than ever. Thank you for watching this video. If you want to check out more from me, especially from the 10 Years Later series that I've been doing, You can find that here, or if you want to learn more about the Owl House, which is great with representation, you can check that here as well. And in the meantime, my friends, take care, and as always, keep moving forward.